Greetings, salutations, and all good things in between. What's up, everyone? Matt here. In this video, I'm going to go over all the shortcuts that are built into the AppSheet platform that make it easier to get around inside. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you consider subscribing. I make weekly content about all things related to AppSheet. I've been a full-time consultant since 2016, helping companies, organizations, and individuals such as yourself to become ninjas with the AppSheet platform. I'm also starting a live stream Fridays, 10 a.m. Central. See you there. Now, let's get to the video. Okay, so there's a lot of things that are built into the AppSheet platform that aren't really that apparent. They're not very in your face what this is, but they're there to help you get around a lot easier, right? So to just start off and I've got a little list here. So to just kind of start off, the first things I want to show are they're called editor settings. So there are some actual settings that you can turn on for your editor, for the AppSheet editor itself, that'll make it a little easier. If you go to manage over here on the side, and then to author up here at the top, and you go to right here, you can see there's an actual button that says editor settings. So if you open this, you'll see there's a few things inside here. So first I'll just touch on, there's an undo stack limit. So it's defaulted to 10. So that's how many times that you can press that little undo button up in the corner. So you can increase that if you want. So you can only do 10, but you can up that to 100 if you really want. Thing you got to keep in mind though is that for the longer that chain is, the more unstable your system can become because it has to keep all of those changes in memory. So just keep that in mind. Now we've got things like expand all views, show system actions, show system views. So these are all off by default, but I'll go over each one here individually. So we have expand all views. So what is this talking about? So if I close this, and if we go and we look at a behavior, right? So here's one of the actions that I've created. You notice we have these three separate sections down here, and they're all collapsed. They're all shrunk already. So if I want to see what the appearance settings are like, I've got to open the appearance settings. And now I have access to where I can put a display name. I can change its prominence if I need to hide it, like this one's not shown. And if I want to see the behavior, so like the condition, I have to open that in order to see it. Okay, maybe you don't want to have to open those in order to see those sections. You can default that to where these sections are always open just by default. And that's in those editor settings. So you just go to manage, author, editor settings, and then you can just expand all views. And now if I go back and I look at this, if I look at a different action, so we'll open this one, you can see the appearance section is open, the behavior section is open, as is the documentation section. So everything defaulted automatically for me to opening everything, and it's the same way no matter where you go. So if I go to a view and I'm looking at a view, all of the different sections which could be shrunk are now all open and just displaying everything for me by nature. So that's the editor settings for, get back to it, editor settings for the expand all views. So there's a couple other ones in here, right? So show system actions and show system views. So those relate to exactly what they talk about, the system actions and the system views. So if we go to the action panel and we look, so if we go to behavior and we look at actions, the only things that you see inside here are the actions that I have created. So there's actually a whole bunch of actions that aren't being shown inside here. There's a delete action, there's an add, and there's an edit. Those are those buttons that are available over here inside the editor. Like this giant plus button is actually an action inside the action behavior page, but it's a system one, and so it's hidden by default. Now there is a way you can show them here on the behavior page. If you look down here, there's this show all button. So if you click that, now we can see all of those system generated actions. So we have for each table, for which we have things that are capable of doing things. We have the add, the delete, and the edit. And so then if I wanted to, like, say I wanted to hide this this add button here, right? I just have to find the corresponding add button and do whatever I want. Maybe put a condition on it, or maybe do not display it, or whatever, right? So these are the ones that are built by the system. They're hidden by default, but you can turn them on by pressing this little button down here. Or if you go to Manage, Author, Editor Settings, inside here, there's a default toggle that you can just turn it on and it will just show all the time. The nice thing about this is that these sorts of settings are, they're editor settings, they're editor wide. So it's not specific to the app that you're working on, it's specific to the editor. So like I'm in the app that I'm working on and I make these changes, then I go and I open up another app, right? Later on, these settings port over to that because they're editor wide. Follow me? Kind of nice. So then we have a toggle for the system actions, right? And we also have the same thing for system views, because if I go and look at views now, the only ones that we see inside here are the ones that I've created, but I can show all of the system views with this little button here. So now I can see all the system views. And if I scroll down, this is where we get things like the default form view and the default detail view. If something has an inline, right? So like this is the default inline view, the table view that the system will use when I'm looking at records from the order details. So like if I go to here inside the app, like this view right here, this is this view right here. All right, so the only way I'd be able to mess with this is if I was showing this hidden system view by either clicking the button down here, or what I prefer is to just Manage, Author, Editor Settings, and just turn on Show All System Views. So one of the very first things that I usually do whenever I'm starting like a new AppSheet account is I come here to Manage, Author, Editor Settings, and I turn all of these on, because it just makes it easier for me. Okay, now, next thing I want to talk about is the View Action Control Expand Shrink button. Okay, so what am I talking about? If we go to Behavior, and you look right here next to this search bar, you've got this little icon over here that's like two horizontal bars above each other, right? Okay. This controls how wide each one of these boxes, if you will, is. So like right now, each one of these boxes is a little small thing that takes up roughly a third of the screen, right? Of the width of this area. If I click this, it makes it now to where they take up the entire length. The nice thing about this is that the buttons are now available. Whereas if I have these shrunk, the buttons are not available. I have to expand it in order to see the button. So if I'm trying to mass delete a bunch of things, this can be very helpful, because now all the delete buttons are right here available for me. So I can just be like, go, 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 go. See what I mean? But if I'm in an app that has a boatload of actions, so like after a while that you've been working on an AppSheet app, you will eventually get to a point where you've got potentially hundreds of actions that you've built. Like check out this app over here. So if I go to the behavior section, right? So when I have everything expanded to this sort of widescreen view like this, like look how small my scroll bar is. And like when I start scrolling, like look at that's so many. And like I don't know about you, but like my default when I'm scrolling, when I get to a screen like this, like I'm not thinking, oh, I'm gonna hyper position my mouse on the really tiny scroll bar and click and drag. Like that's not my initial go-to when I land on a screen. Like my brain just like I'm on the screen, scroll to get where I need to go. You know what I mean? And so if I've got everything like this to where everything's widescreen and I've got a boatload of actions like I do here, like this is like, if I just do something like that, like just let it go, like this is a ridiculous number of actions. You know what I mean? So having it widescreen like this really kind of gets in the way at this point. It makes it a little harder to work with. And that's when expanding this, or I'm sorry, shrinking these to where you have 3. Well, now it's a lot more manageable now, because now I can see like this entire group of actions for the entire cable table is right there in the screen. And like now I can do this and I'm all the way down here in the T's and the U's. Like if I'm trying to get to users, like it's just a couple of quick scrolls down and I'm here. So that's the expand and shrink view control thing. Not sure what that's called at all. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is what I call the view and the table link. So first, the view link. When you're working inside the AppSheet editor over here, a lot of times, like I'm working on this and I want to change something on this view that I'm looking at, right? Okay, how do I do that? Well, I got to go find the view that I'm looking at, which means I need to know what it's named, right? Okay, so if you look down here at the very bottom of the screen, underneath this where it says preview app as, excuse me, there's 2 entries. There's a view and there's a table, and they're hyperlinks too. If you click this, it literally opens up the view over here that you're looking at. And now I can easily make any kind of modifications that I need to do. If I wanted to change something or whatnot, it's all right here and I'm ready to go. There's also a table link down here too. So like if I'm like in a form like this and I say like, oh, well, these little enter content here things, those are clearly wrong. And like the field names, they need a display name because it still has the system thing. Okay, so I need to get to the table for this form really quick, right? So I can just look down here and this will tell me the name of the table if you just read it, right? So the table is the current user today's timesheet. Or if I just click it, it will take me to the table. Okay, so in this instance, this form is for a slice. So when I clicked the table link down here, it took me to the table or the slice in this instance. Now this is where we we bring in another thing. Whenever you're inside one of these boxes for like a control of some kind, like it's an action, it's a view, it's a slice, it's a formatting rule, whatever. Any of these places, boxes where you're doing something for a specific table, they all have this where you select the table. And if you ever notice, there's a little hyperlink right underneath this that says view definition. If you click this, it takes you to that table's columns right here. So like I was on the slice and I wanted to get to this slice's column definition. I can just click view definition and it takes me right there. How cool is that? That is something that's available in any of those places where you see like the drop down of the table. So like if I'm on like a view, right? This view where I select a table, here it is, takes me right to the columns. If I'm on an action, like if I come here and I'm in some random action that I just click on, right? I have a table selection, boom, takes me right to the columns. That is present anywhere where you've got that sort of like little table drop down all throughout the system. It's really, really hidden. It's like, it's really subtle. So you don't really know what or think to like click that. But if you do, it takes you right to where you want to go. Okay. Now the next thing I want to touch on, if you're inside an automation, right? Okay. So if I'm in the automation and I'm in a task that is linked. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So if you click on, let me start fresh here. So if I'm on my automation page and then I just expand one of my automations, and I come down here to one of the tasks for my automation, and I expand it. Okay, so when I click on it, now I see all of the settings over here. Now, this task executes a data action, and this data action has linking turned on. So what is linking? Okay, if you look up here in the settings, there's this little drop down right here, and if I expand this, this is the linking setting for this task. What this allows me to do is I can reuse this task somewhere else. Now I've turned linking on, but this tells me that I haven't used it anywhere else yet. It's kind of nice. The reason I'm bringing this up is because when you have a task where you've turned on linking, what this is really doing is it's creating that task inside the behavior section. So like this clear company's form type, if I go over to behavior and I look on whatever table this is on the company's table, I will find this over there. Okay, so now like I could click on behavior and actions and find the company's table and dig through the thing to try and find it. But there's an easier way. That's what this video is all about, right? The shortcuts. So when I have linking turned on over here, if you look at the bottom of all of these setup stuff in this little corner window, there's a hyperlink where it says go to action. If you click that, it takes you to that action. And now all of those settings are here. I can get to the behavior section where I can maybe put a condition on this if I want to. I can hide this from the prominence type of thing, you know, whatever I need to do. All of that's here. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is something that's not built into the AppSheet editor platform itself. It's built into your browser, and that's the browser back button. Yeah, literally, I'm talking about this browser back button right here where like literally go back. Okay, I've been playing with this thing for months now, and I've told other people and they've been playing with it as well. And so far, we have never encountered a problem with using this. I just want to put that up front and make it clear. I've never had a problem with data loss. I've never had a problem with changes that I've made in the editor and like me hitting that browser back button, and like those have never disappeared. They've always maintained. They've always persisted, even though I like went forward, made some changes, and then went back. Like the changes persisted when I went back. Like when I hit save, all of the things I did were still there, just up front. But what I'm getting at is you can literally hit your browser back button to go back to wherever you came from. So like I've been talking about all of these links that you can click on, all these hyperlinks that are available that'll take you from one place to another place in the AppSheet editor, right? Okay, you can use the browser back button to take you back to where you came from. So we were on automation. I'm looking at a specific task. So the screen I'm on, right, is automation, this company automation specific thing that's open, and I'm looking at this clear trigger thing that's expanded over here, right? Now, if I click go to action, it takes me to the action. So now I'm looking at the action itself. Now, if I click the browser back button once, twice, there we go. It took me right back to where I was. Sometimes you got to click it a couple of times, but you'll eventually start going backwards, right? And look, I'm right back where I was. Now, like, okay, so I go to action, I go to the column list, right? Okay, so now I went from automation to actions to columns. Okay, now I want to go back to where I was because I'm working on, like, say the scenario is I'm working on a specific automation, but I need to go, I don't know, check something inside the columns, right? So I go to the action, go to the definition. Now I'm on the columns. I can go in here, be like, okay, company name, blah, blah, blah. Go, oh yeah, okay, this is the thing that I needed. Cool. Close that, back, back, back. And I'm right back where I was. I've never had a problem with data loss, changes disappearing. I've reported this to other people, other people I've been in the game for a very long time, right? And they've been doing this, and I've never heard anybody say, crap, I lost something, don't do that. Everybody is always reporting, yeah, man, that seems incredibly stable. This is amazing. So I hope that helps everybody. There are a whole bunch of little tips and tricks like this where you can really get around the AppSheet editor. It doesn't have to be this like Easter egg hunt where you're going, you know, click, 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 click to finally get, and then you're like, where's the thing in this sea of stuff? It doesn't have to be that way. It's a lot easier. There's just not as apparently documented, I guess, whatever. But now you know. Anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you want to show your love, you could head on over to patreon.com/MultiTech. I've got a lot of really good goodies going on over there. Yeah, we'll see you in the community.